Welcome back, everyone. We're here today on our case study day of the CabralConcept. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We are going to be going through an environmental toxicity test. We have not yet covered this on the podcast. And so what I want to do is actually allow you to, if you'd like, to follow along right at home with an environmental toxicity test. That's a simple urine-based test that anybody can run, whether it's a child or adult, in order to see over 150 different toxins that their body may be exposed to. So even though we know that there's 77,000, that was as of 3 years ago, and now over 140,000 man-made toxins in the environment, this lab is a really great one at looking at the predominant ones that you may come in contact to or come in contact with on a daily basis. So again, this is a really great lab test. We use it quite a bit in our practice. There's a lot of people that are interested just to see what their toxin exposure based level is. This isn't about food sensitivities. It's not about gut overgrowth. It's not about mold, and it's not about other stealth pathogens. It's actually from chemicals in the environment that you come in contact to that may cause all sorts of dis-ease in the body, potentially cancer, potentially nervous system disorders, kidney failure, brain issues, neurotoxicity, autism, Alzheimer's, and much more. So again, it's a nice one to run every once in a while, maybe once a year or so. And the reason is it can just show you what, again, you may not know that you're coming into contact with. So this is a real lab that you can download at stevencabral.com/2288. This is from our private practice. I'll link up to that lab on today's show as well. And like I said, this is a fully redacted lab, so we obviously take our wellness client confidentiality very seriously, but this is a real lab, and it's a simple urine sample that you can get from your naturopathic doctor. You can get it from an integrative health practitioner level 2, even a level 1. IHP can certainly give you the link as to where to find this, or you can work with us in our private practice. It's completely up to you. But again, today is just to simply let you know that these things are available, they're out there, and they're actually quite interesting, and that's why a lot of people run these. So let's get into it. We're going to be going through a few dozen markers here today, and within those few dozen markers, there's many biomarkers within them, such as pesticides, glyphosate, and many more. All right, so let's dive in. The first one that we see, and this is actually quite common for this one to be somewhat elevated. But even if you're not watching this on video at stevencabral.com/2288 or on YouTube, just at Steven Cabral, you are welcome to listen in on audio, and I'll walk you through this lab test, even if you're not watching it on video. So the first one is 2-hydroxyisobutyric acid. And why this one is sometimes elevated is that this one absolutely can be elevated with gasoline, exhaust fumes. So if you're living in a city-based area, this one's common to see elevated. There's no doubt about that, because this is a invisible vapor. So basically exhaust fumes, you can't really see them. You can certainly see when there's an issue with exhaust fumes where it's blowing out black smoke, but exhaust fumes, you can't see for the most part, right? You're going down the street, you typically can't see them, but they're certainly in the air. They've been demonstrated to cause liver issues, kidney issues, nervous system issues, what's called peripheral neurotoxicity, as well as cancer studied in animals. So not a great thing, obviously, to be consuming massive amounts of exhaust fumes. But this one can also be an issue from bacterial imbalances in the gut. And that is why it's important to work with your local naturopathic doctor or your integrative health practitioner or an Equal Life coach. And the reason is that a well-trained coach or doctor or practitioner is going to be able to go beyond the lab test. So this individual right here, we want everyone in the green, right? So like a lot of labs, it goes green, yellow, orange, red. Green means good, yellow, green means starting to move out of the good zone, yellow means caution, orange means there's something wrong, and red means you're way too elevated. All right, so that's how we're going to be reading this lab. So this individual is in the yellow moving to orange, so we will want to look at their gut bacterial overgrowth, and we'll also want to say, hey, do you live in a city? Let's look at the overall exposure. Or, you taking the subway underground, all these different things could cause this type of exposure. All right, the next one is phthalates. Phthalates you've certainly heard of before. These are from cosmetics and different beauty products, plastics, pharmaceuticals, insect repellents, and much more. So this is this one, the person's luckily very low in, which is a great thing. We sometimes see this elevated, and this causes a massive issues as well in developing fetuses. So this is a lab we like women to run maybe like 6 months before they're thinking about conceiving, if possible. The next one is xylenes. So xylenes you will see in pesticides, cleaning material, exhaust fumes, again, is a big one. Perfumes, most perfumes, if they're not made from essential oils and other natural-based products, they're for the most part toxic. I mean, they might smell nice, but you're breathing in synthetic toxins. And again, bug sprays, which are some of the most harmful things you could put on your body and especially your child's body. If you want a natural bug spray, just go to stevencabral.com/podcast. Just type in bug spray and you'll find the best ones. Or if I don't have it, I'll certainly link it up here today. Go to stevencabral.com/resources, and I will make sure that we put up some healthy bug sprays there as well that do not have any of these harmful materials. Okay. So the next ones are in the same category. These are styrenes, ethylbenzenes, and benzene in general. These are, again, going to come from exhaust fumes, building materials, plastic. So a lot of new homes may have these benzenes, again, invisible vapors in the air. So really, really important to look at that. Plastics, especially foods wrapped in plastic. So you don't want to use that clear plastic wrap on hot foods. On cold foods, it's not going to really have an issue. It's still plastic. But when you heat these foods with that clear plastic wrap on, or you put plastic wrap over an already hot food, those styrenes, benzenes will actually move directly into your food. Benzenes in general can be if someone smokes cigarettes and a lot of synthetic-based building materials as well will have this, all right? So really, really important to look at these. Luckily, well, I should say this person is mildly elevated. So we would like to look at, okay, is this person using perfumes on a daily basis? Is this person around, well, it could all be exhaust fumes. I mean, this person could, I don't know the person. This is from my team. That's why we ask a lot of questions during these consultations. So we're saying, listen, I mean, do you do a lot of highway driving? Do you have your windows down? Do you drive in a convertible? Like, we're just kind of looking at where are all these exhaust fumes coming from, because this is not like a normal exposure. This is a little bit more than normal that we see. Or, maybe this person smokes, and we'll certainly look at that as well. All right, the next one is acrylonitrile, and this one is, we don't usually see it elevated, but it's from resins, acrylic fibers, rubber. It can be from smoking tobacco, cigars, and cigarettes, but we have seen it elevated a few times, and it's from people that do a lot of like auto mechanic work. So they may work on their own car, or they may work in an auto body-based shop. Perchlorate is up next. This one we don't see as common. This is from, the most common exposure is bleach, but it can be, and again, you'd have to be doing a whole lot of cleaning with bleach to be exposed to this. But certainly, again, you're not getting it on you, you're breathing in the bleach vapors. So just keep that in mind. Most of these things are inhaled toxins. So it can also be from missiles, fireworks, flares, and explosives. I mean, this is not one that I typically see elevated, but nonetheless, it could be. All right, the next one, we're moving to diphenyl phosphate. Diphenyl phosphate, a lot of times from plastics. The most common place we see it is from like a lot of nail, like if men or women are having their nails done and there's a lot of resins put on, or they're working with resins, or they're working with not just typical nail polish, but actually with a lot of acrylic-based nail polishes. That could be one specifically. And it does disrupt hormones, so without a doubt. It disrupts higher levels of estrogen, potentially lower levels of testosterone, or higher conversion from testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. All right, the next one is ethylene oxide, vinyl chloride, and halopropane. Again, I don't typically see these elevated as much. This individual is a little lower on those as well, which is certainly a good thing. This is used a lot in electronics. It's used in detergents, pharmaceuticals, and sometimes personal care-based products. So again, this is more, well, not always, but more building materials and items like that. But again, we work with a lot of people in all different walks of life, and so it's a good one to certainly test for. The next one, this person's they're not elevated, but they're moving certainly out of that green base zone. This one is an organic solvent. It's called bromopropane, and this is used in dry cleaning. So again, this could be someone that's wearing dry clean clothes 5 days a week, and again, it's against their body. It's not necessarily against an undershirt or something like that. And these are solvents, and so these things can actually, if there's a heavy load of them, can actually be brought right through the skin into the body. Or, it's always possible that someone works in some type of factory or a dry cleaning place where they're being exposed to these at a much, much higher degree. And dry cleaning, by the way, is toxic. Now, you can find non-toxic, greener dry cleaners. There's no doubt about that. But for the most part, it's absolutely toxic. It really is. All right, the next one, this person is just, again, mildly elevated, the next one is propylene oxide. This one is from textiles and industrial-based construction. Don't typically see this too often. Now, number 12 in this lab is called acrylamides. This is a really important one to talk about. This person's quite elevated. They're way past the 75th percentile, so they show you kind of where you fall. Yes, this one can be from cigarettes, and it can be from cosmetics, and it can be from always these things can be in drinking water, by the way, which is why hopefully you've checked out my podcast on testing your own drinking water. It can be from plastics, but honestly, we see acrylamides the most from burnt-based meat or burnt-based veggies. If you like to charcoal your meat a bit, if you like to, grill and get those grill marks on it, if you like to grill your veggies and have essentially charcoal, right, the black on it, those are called acrylamides. So acrylamides is from high heat cooking, and these things are absolutely, acrylamides are absolutely a known carcinogen, which means it doesn't mean you're going to get cancer, but they certainly can lead to cancer. So this person's quite elevated, so that's going to be one of the recommendations we give them for sure. I'm making sure this person's not smoking or around friends that smoke because they have quite high levels. This person has quite high levels of exhaust fumes or something to do in the area of fumes, so I'm checking out that. And then I'm looking at acrylamides as well, which is, by the way, something that someone could easily change. So that's a big one. All right, the next one is called butadiene. Butadiene, this person is moderately elevated. They're in the yellow, so in the cautionary zone. And this leads to an increase in cardiovascular-based disease, a lot of times from inflammation in those arteries. This is a colorless gas, typically from the production of synthetic rubber. When I read this, again, I don't know the individual yet. I always review labs before I would meet with an individual. I would just be thinking to myself, does this person work outside? Are they someone that might be on the highway quite a bit and getting those fumes from hot rubber when the car's tires are meeting the road and that's being kicked up? Or are they working at, are they working outside on construction? This looks to me like someone that is being exposed to these exhaust fumes and rubber and car-based byproducts on a near daily basis for sure. Okay, the next one is organophosphates. We're going to be getting into this quite a bit, but these ones are really important to look at it because they can cause learning disabilities. They can cause all sorts of nervous system issues, which then leads to anxiety and all sorts of overstimulation, like for children, ADD, ADHD, etc. So again, this can be used for both children and adults. Okay, this person luckily is good for organophosphates. And let's see the next one. The next one is a different type of organophosphate. Instead of DMP, it is DEP. Now, again, I should say with organophosphates, the main place that you're going to be seeing these are food-based pesticides, right? So you're going to see this in some type of spray, most predictably on pesticides, okay? So this person is off the charts. The high level is 16 for the 95th percentile, and this person's coming in at an 18. So they're quite elevated, definitely a lot of exposure to foods sprayed with pesticides. So we're going to want to take a look at that. Herbicides, luckily for this person, there's many different types of herbicides. This one is called the dichlorophenoxyl acetate or acetic acid. Easy for me to say, right? And it was a common herbicide that was actually part of Agent Orange, which, by the way, has now been outlawed, but some of it still exists in the environment, which is, I know, completely crazy, but again, known carcinogen as well. Luckily, this person is low on that. But when we look at the next one, which is acrolein, this is another type of herbicide. So I just did a podcast on pesticides versus like herbicides and the 2022 Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. We'll link that up to today's show. So just head on over to stephencabral.com/2288. You want to check out the differences between pesticides and herbicides. And herbicides specifically can be used with lawn care as well. So that's important to look at that. Overall lawn care and then also sprayed on food. So this person is in the moderate zone for that. All right, the next one is going to be pyrethroid insecticide. So this one, again, is used to spray on crops, on foods, and overall as an insecticide. This one, luckily, is fairly low, which is great to see. Then we move to the next one, which is always an interesting one for me to pronounce, so I'll do my best here. It's tiglylglycine, TG, and this is an important one because we don't necessarily look at this from a specific toxin, but we look at how is this particular marker affecting the overall mitochondrial health of the individual. So in many people, we might see a larger level of this, which could be potentially some type of mitochondrial dysfunction. So I'm a big fan. I always look right at this number 19 to see if there's a big mitochondrial dysfunction, which means like lower energy production, higher levels of inflammation if your mitochondria aren't working well, and higher likelihood of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, maybe even autism as well, and cancer. All right. The next one just goes through a whole line of different phosphates, namely pesticides, so organophosphates. This person luckily is doing pretty well on those ones. But if we look at the next one, the DEP, which we just spoke about earlier, extremely high. Now, if you're someone that likes to really get into this information, well, you've got a list of about 60 of these that you're able to look through. And you could say, okay, are my foods being sprayed with this? It can be difficult to ascertain that information, but the truth is I don't know that it necessarily matters unless you're doing your own spraying, because these for sure would be able to be pulled out of those ingredients. So that brings us through our lab. We go through all the different metabolites. And then, of course, we never want to explain to somebody like, oh, like the sky is falling. That's certainly not it at all. When I look at this individual's lab, what I see is someone that is certainly consuming foods, conventional-based foods, that have higher levels of pesticide and potentially herbicide. I say potentially herbicide because maybe they're using some type of lawn care and they're spraying themselves, meaning like not the actual cells, but they're spraying it on their lawn themselves. Okay, then they could certainly be exposed to that. Now, most likely for most individuals, this is coming mainly from the foods, fruits and vegetables they are choosing that are not organic, that are sprayed. So again, really important to look at that because these are known toxins. And then for this individual too, I would want to know their occupation, their profession. And because we saw a lot to do with either rubber, industrial-based products, exhaust fumes, and I would want to make sure, okay, what is the exposure level? Is any of this avoidable? If so, we're of course going to do that. And that's going to be important. And the last main one, because again, we're really not looking at a million of these. We're looking at 3 to 4 that we really want to hone in on. And the other one was acrylamides. And this is from over grilling or using too high a heat for frying or grilling where you're getting the charcoal marks on your food. Now, some people might say, well, I really enjoyed the taste of that. I really like that. Well, to those people, what I would say is that you want to make sure you're taking in quite a bit of antioxidants then with that meal. And I would really not do that more than every once in a while. So again, not every once in a while. Take that for whatever you want it to mean, I guess. But like maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. But again, taking in a good amount of antioxidants with that. Try to put some lemon on the fish or the meat or the veggies that you're having, some olive oil that hasn't been cooked, so you get a lot of antioxidants there. And then, of course, just be taking a good amount of antioxidants to deal with all that oxidation. So those are the recommendations I would give, right away. I'd be looking to see if there's any gut-based issues. I would also make sure that I'm eliminating any heavy metals. So I might recommend what's called the starter kit next, which is going to look at their gut levels, overall mitochondria, heavy metals, electrolytes, all their mineral levels, all their vitamin levels as well, to see if any of those are affected. And I would definitely do a 21-day functional medicine detox with this individual. We have lots of details on what a functional medicine detox is. You can certainly find those at stephencabral.com/detox. We have a free course on what a functional medicine detox is. That's completely free. That's at stephencabral.com/courses. And you're welcome also on this lab, because I left all of it in. Especially if you're an integrative health practitioner, you want to read a little bit more about it, I left the interpretation in. Just remember, always great to work with an actual practitioner, IHP, certified health coach that knows about this, naturopathic doctor. And the reason is that although the lab interpretation is really nice to read, what it doesn't give you are additional ways that these markers may come about. So I hope you enjoy these case studies. I really like going through them. Most people have never heard about an environmental toxicity test. We'll certainly link it up for you if you want to check it out today. Again, at stephencabral.com/2288. But if you enjoy the case studies, let me know. I'll continue to do more and all sorts of different labs so you get a feel for what each one looks like. Take care. Have an amazing day.